The ngRoute module is stored in its own JavaScript file, so before you can use it, you need to get a copy of the file and reference it in your project. There are several ways you can do this. I'm not going to cover these techniques in great detail, and as long as you end up with a reference to the file, it doesn't really matter which one you choose. First, you can install it with Bower. Bower is a package manager primarily used for client-side code. The command to install ngRoute is bower install angular-route followed by the hash sign and the version you want. I'm using version 1.4.0. That will install the code in a Bower Components folder, and you can reference the file from there. You can also use npm to install the file. npm is the Node package manager. It works similarly to Bower. The command to install ngRoute with npm is npm install angular-route followed by the @ and the version number. The code will be added to your project inside a folder named Node Modules. Perhaps the easiest way to get the file is just to reference it directly from Google's Content Delivery Network. You can simply add a JavaScript file reference to this URL, and you don't have to bother keeping up with the file in your project at all. The last technique I'll mention is to manually download the file and add it to your project. All of the Angular code can be found on the code.angularjs.org website. I've listed the URL for version 1.4.0 of ngRoute here. Once we have the code downloaded, there are 3 steps we need to perform before we can begin defining routes for our application. First, we need to reference the angular-route.js file in our index.html file. Next, we need to add ngRoute as a module dependency on our main application module. Finally, we have to add an ngView directive to our index.html file. Each route will have its own view defined by a chunk of HTML, and the ngView directive tells Angular where to insert that HTML. Adding a reference to the JavaScript file is done the same way you reference any other JavaScript file. This is a simplified version of the index.html file for the School Buddy demo app we'll be using. I've installed Angular with Bower, and I'm referencing the minified file inside the Bower Components folder. A little above that, you can see that I've applied the ngView directive to a div element. That will be the location where the view for each route will be inserted into the page. Since ngRoute is in its own module, we need to specify it as a dependency on our module. This is a snippet of the app.js file from the demo project. I've created a module for the School Buddy application and just named it app. Since we'll be using the ngRoute module, I've specified it as a dependency by adding it inside the square brackets when creating our module. Once you have those initial configuration items in place, you're ready to begin defining the routes for your application.